Let us join together in consciousness as we begin this evening's service. As I quiet my mind, I acknowledge there is but one divine mystery, one infinite creative intelligence, one light, and we are all some part of it. And so as we begin this evening, I know that this energy of love and light, of peace and well-being, of acknowledging, accepting, and allowing the essence of all that I am to be revealed for each and every one here to realize the beauty, the magnificence of life, of the journey, and that everyone is, in fact, a loving essence of a divine presence. So I'm grateful for this time together, grateful for this journey, and I know that all is well, and I let that be the truth. And so it is.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kathy, and our land acknowledgement. We are honored to be living, working, and playing on lands that have been stewarded for millennia by the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that as we continue to grow and expand on these lands, there is still unresolved and dangerous inequality and discrimination toward our Indigenous, BIPOC, and 2SL LGBTQ plus family. By making these acknowledgements, we strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness. We choose to create a new reality. We are one. Our vision at CSL on the Lake is transforming the world through the emergence of the sacred, authentic self. And our mission is to welcome you as you are, where you are, without judgment or criticism, providing a sacred place of learning and growing as you seek to achieve your greatest dreams. We accomplish this by offering science of mind classes, social events, inspiring workshops, thought-provoking services, and practitioner support. We honor the revelation of your emerging sacred, authentic self through our positive messaging and loving support.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that you are already enough? Nothing needs to be added, subtracted, altered, or changed, that the way you're created is actually divine perfection. Question. So what do you think when you look in the mirror? What is the first thought that crosses your mind? Is it, wow, look at this divine perfection? Or is there a little bit of judgment going on? Is it that we look in the mirror and instead of seeing the real self, we see the not enoughness? We see the idea that somehow what's there, there's something wrong with it, there's something broken. And what we want to do is acknowledge that what we're looking at, we are actually looking with. So we're looking with our consciousness. We're not looking with the soul eyes, the essence eyes, the eyes that know exactly who we were when we came in and who we still are, but rather all those layers of judgment and brokenness and whatever's been put on us, the messages we received from family, friends, whoever. So mirror work, doing this mirror practice, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. Mirror work is really about going beyond the idea of broken to a place of I am already enough, a place of realizing our own perfection. Now, when we look in the mirror, we see the body, but the body is not who you are, and it's not who I am. It is the form of expression that's required for us to have a human experience, but it doesn't define us. And yet we live as though it does. So what we want to do is begin to take a look at how we're living and what it is we believe about ourselves, and can we shift it? Now, I've had a lot of my clients do mirror work, and some cannot do it. Now, I don't know about you, what you think when you look in the mirror, or if you have the ability to hold that mirror up and look in it and go, I love you. I love you, Barbara. I love you, Kathy. I love you, Patricia. That idea of looking yourself right in the eyes and actually choosing to see beyond the judgments, the criticisms, the ideas of not enough. See, what happens is we get a little self-conscious when we get in front of the mirror, don't we? But have you ever watched a little child? You know, a little 2-year-old will look in the mirror and giggle and laugh and kiss it. They love looking at themselves. And then something happens, right? We get to be 4 and 5 and 6, and all of a sudden we sort of develop this ego self that is layered with all manner of judgment and criticism, and all these ideas that somehow we are less than what we are created to be. And by doing the mirroring process, what we do is we begin to heal that. So the journey that we're on is to acknowledge that there is a part of us that has never been touched by the circumstances of our life. And that is our essence. That is that divine oneness that we have with the universe. That part of us, the soul, has never been touched. No matter what we've gone through in our life, that part of us has not been touched. What has been is the humanity, that human aspect of us. That is the part of us that has been, teased or ridiculed, bullied or shamed, or whatever the case may be, somehow gotten the message that who you are is wrong and bad, or who you are is broken and flawed, or who you are is somehow not enough. So we want to erase that. You with me? You ready to erase that? Ready to create a whole new paradigm? We have the ability to do that. And that's what this mirror process does, is it allows us to change how we view who we are. Because remember, what we see when we look in the mirror is not what other people see when they look at us. What we see when we look in the mirror is our perception of who we think we are or think we should be. And so we want to begin to shift that a little bit and realize that our true self-image is one of wholeness, it's one of perfection, and all of this self-judgment does nothing more than keep us small and stuck and living in a lie. Yes, it is a lie. It is a lie that somehow we are not good enough. So the idea of stopping judging, what it does is when we stop judging, we begin to see the real self. We begin to see who we really are. So I want you to try something this week. I want you to look in the mirror and say, look in your eyes and say, life loves me. Life loves me. Life loves me. And I want you to say it over and over again, 10 times, at least 20 times if you're brave. Every time you go to the mirror, every time you're standing ready to put your makeup on or take it off or wash your face or brush your teeth, I want you to take a moment and look in the mirror and say, life loves me. What we want to do is reprogram the way we view this aspect of us. Our brokenness is what causes us the suffering. That idea that I'm not enough is what makes me play small in public rather than shine. So we want to begin to shift it all, to begin to look at ourselves through the eyes that we had when we were a wee child. when we would look in the mirror and just be excited and delighted by the beautiful thing we saw in front of us. No judgment, no criticism, no harshness, no idea that somehow you need to be different, altered, changed, but rather a celebration of who you really are. Has anyone ever told you how brilliant you are? Or how beautiful you are? And then you've turned around and went, well, no, that's not actually true because, I'm kind of tired today, so I can't be thought as beautiful. Anybody ever do that? Somebody compliments a new outfit you're wearing, you go, this old thing. Anybody ever do that? Or wow, you are so talented in this area. And you go, oh, that's nothing. Anybody could do that. There is self-talk going on that is causing us to feel less than, and it really is a myth. In the book, Life Loves You, they talk about the idea of the myth of inadequacy, the myth of inadequacy. And I think most of us feel it at some time or another, that there's this idea that somehow we're not quite enough. And so the fear of not being lovable, the fear about not being enough, and we have this sense of inadequacy. And it's not true. There's nothing about it that is real or anything. There's nothing about it that is actual fact. It's all created from these stories that we've been told. And the fear of not being lovable is reinforced by this unhealthy mirroring in childhood. People tell us things about ourselves and we start to believe it. I sometimes think about, when you think about the idea of God, you think about this thing in the sky that can see all, knows all, and is going to pass judgment because we're never quite perfect. Well, how do we see our parents when we're like 3 years old or 4 years old? They see all, they know all, they're everywhere present, especially if you're making a mistake, right? They're right there. So this whole idea of God even produces some anxiety in some of us because we have an idea that it's a judging energy, but that's not what it is. In fact, using that word, I think, puts a limitation on how we can actually experience the divine mystery of life. I think part of the process that we really individually need to be working on this journey of being a human is to take time in the silence, to take time to reflect, to take time to acknowledge this divine mystery, that we live in this incredible universe that is intelligent and it's powerful and it's creative. And as we begin to surrender our energy into it, we can begin to receive insights and intuition that allows us to progress through life in a way that is so much easier and more loving and more comfortable. And rather than saying, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not successful enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not. We give up the I'm not, and we move into a place of I am. I am divine. I am love. I am successful. I am creative. We begin to use the I am phrase in the way that it's meant to, because those are the two most powerful words in the universe. I am. Whatever we put behind that, whether we think it or speak it, it has power. So we want to really take a look at how we are living and how we are sharing our ideas and our truth. And what is it we're saying about ourselves? And what are we saying about somebody else? It's really important. Yesterday in class, Kathy shared a reading about, taking the time to stay in your own lane, really. If it's mine to do, then do that. If somebody else is doing something, not my business, that's not my lane, right? I got to stay in mine. Where can I do the work? It's kind of like the serenity prayer, do what you can do, have the wisdom to know what's yours, have the wisdom to know what isn't, right? What's in my control and what isn't, right? Having the understanding that life is flowing and moving, and the only point of power that I have is now, and the only place is here. The only person I can change, the only way that I can perceive the world differently is from my own vantage point. I can't see from anybody else's. And if I project onto you that somehow you're not doing something right, really, what am I telling you? Because all I can be talking about is myself. How I view you has nothing to do with you, but it has everything to do with me. So it's time for us to really begin to view everything in a little bit different way, to acknowledge that this now moment is powerful and that I have been created in the image and likeness of the Creator. And when I say that, what I want to acknowledge is that by talking about Creator, I'm talking about universal energy. There is only this one universal energy, and we are all aspects of it. You know, like the wave on the ocean. We know the wave isn't different. It is the ocean. Well, we are this universal intelligence. We are this creative expression of this divine mystery. And if we can allow ourselves to live there, to let go of the walls and the barriers, the ways in which we separate, and instead acknowledge and accept that just maybe the way I was created is absolutely right for the universe at this point in time. That who I am, how I process information, what I bring to the world when I'm willing to get out of my feelings of inadequacy and limitation and stand in pure light and love, when I begin to acknowledge that, I can bring my gifts to the world. And so often the gifts that we have, we tend to downplay, and that needs to stop. It really does need to stop. There's things that we do that don't serve, and it doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve the world. And yet somehow playing small is the message that we got, many of us, in our childhood. I remember hearing, oh, that's selfish. So doing something good for yourself is selfish. Well, all of a sudden you start saying, well, selfish is bad and I don't want to be bad. So I'm just going to, dim my light a little bit more. Oh, that's self-centered. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Don't do this, don't do that. There's all these messages that cause this myth of inadequacy to gain legs, to gain strength. And over the years has become a really big part of who it is we think we are. And we've forgotten the powerful, remarkable, exquisite being that is the truth of us. So it's time to, if we're going to think backwards, let's think back to when we were little bitty and we just did whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted, however we wanted. And that might sound like a bad idea, but I'm talking about it not from a perspective of it harming others or taking from others, but rather allowing us to bring our gifts in that we might bless others by our presence. It's a new way of being. And it's not selfish to be that way. It's like in that willingness to heal myself, I show up better. In my willingness to love myself, to appreciate my gifts and talents, and to acknowledge that we all have them. It's in that place that I bring a greater light and possibility into the world. So when I think about the mirror exercise, and I think about looking in the mirror and looking into my own eyes and saying, I love you, Barbara. It's like, I remember when I first tried it, it was hard. It was hard, but here's the thing. The mirror isn't judging us. The mirror is just reflecting. Who's doing the judging? And what if we stopped that? What if we began to look in that mirror and saw the magnificent expression of the divine shining forth? How might life be different? Can you imagine that? And I really do want each of you to give an attempt to trying this mirror exercise when you're back home tonight. Well, you are home, but once you're in, when you head into the washroom and decide to wash your face at the end of the day, to look in that mirror and go, wow, maybe even kiss it. Kiss that mirror, kiss that beautiful person that you see in front of you. Go back to that place of love that you were at as a small child, where you just delighted in being able to look in the mirror, where you delighted in seeing your own reflection, going, wow, check it. Look at that. How beautiful is that, right? We move into that place of possibility. The idea of the mirror principle is that it teaches that your relationship with yourself is mirrored in everything and everyone, right? When we look at our relationships, if they're really challenged and difficult, we might want to take a look at our relationship with ourselves. Is there ways in which we haven't accepted us, haven't honored us? And then if we notice that it's true, which if we have difficult relationships, there's something there. There's something there that we can work on and expand and alter and change that allows us to then shift our relationships. And I remember years ago having someone come into my office for, some coaching and for some treatment work. And when we were sitting talking, it was all about how horrible, awful this person's boss was. And, that, I might have to quit because I can't stand working for this person. He's so mean, and he's just such an angry individual, and it's really hard to be there. And I said, well, what I want you to do is every time you think of him in love, like in that energy of divine grace, to begin to see him as, just this beautiful expression of spirit, to really get a sense of that. And at first, I think she thought I was out of my mind. I said, well, just give it a try. It might not work, but give it a try. Just see what happens. And within the week, he'd been transferred out of the company to another office somewhere else in another city. And so she came back in going, oh my God, like I get a new boss. I don't know how things are going to change, but when we come from a place of love, we begin to change the energy of everything around us. I remember years ago working, across the desk from my sister, and we were having challenges. And a psychiatrist that I went to because I couldn't sleep told me that I should love her. And I'm going, but wait a minute, she's the one who made them. She did, right? Pointing. And he just said, well, if it doesn't work, come back and tell me next week and we'll come up with something else. And I went in and the next morning, and I brought her coffee to her desk and said good morning and sat down, and everything was healed. It's like in the moment that we allow ourselves to really infuse the idea of love. Now, by love, I'm not talking about an emotion. I'm not talking about romance. I'm talking about oneness. I'm talking about connecting so deeply with another person. We know that I am what they are, that they are what I am. And it is in that place of really anchoring the idea that we are connected, that we begin to move into a different state of being where we're no longer, them and us, but there is only the I am, and it's fully expressing in each and every moment. And so it heals. It's a healing power. And it's, can I show up in a place of compassion, kindness, love, and respect, moment by moment, with every person that I meet? And if I can't, it's okay. It's okay. What I want to do is reflect why within myself. What is it in me that's not willing to go there? What is holding me back? And that's where the mirror principle can be so powerful, because as I stand in front of that mirror, if I can't look at myself and say, I love you, there's something in me that I need to pay some attention to. There's some love I need to give to myself. We're on a journey of awakening and expanding, a journey of possibility and opportunity. And the world is mirroring our consciousness. The world is mirroring our consciousness. And if you think about the conversations you hear on the news or in the neighborhood or whatever, you hear fear. It's the loudest voice in the room at present, it seems. And if fear is the loudest voice that we're hearing, does that impact the consciousness of the whole? So what we want to do is check in with ourselves. What is my voice saying? And not just the words I speak, but the words I think. Am I fearful and anxious, or am I turning that around and going, wait a minute, I'm part of an infinite universe. I'm part of this all powerful, all knowing divine energy. Therefore, I am that what it is. I am that. So I am powerful. I am intelligent. I am connected with all of it. And if I'm connected with all of it, and if my thoughts form into manifestation somehow, what is it I'm thinking about? Am I living in fear or am I living in love? Have I elevated my consciousness to a place where I can forgive, where I can move on, where I can expand? Am I living in a place where I can choose love over fear? Just a question. And we're not always there. We're not always there. We're not always going to do it perfectly. And there's something about that that we just need to take a breath, quiet our mind a little bit, and choose, instead of the myth of inadequacy, to realize that we are fully, fully enough. That all that we have need of, we already have it. We came in with it. We came in as fully formed divine beings of love and light. And then we forgot. So it's time to remember, to remove the masks, the layers, let go of the ideas of not enough and replace it with I am enough. I am brilliant. I am beautiful. I am fabulous. I am one with the one. The world is exactly a mirror of an inward condition. And when we look at the world today, she needs a little bit of loving. And we have it within us to give it. We have it within us to give it. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. If we want to see the world as peaceful, we need to be at peace. If we want to see the world as healthy, we need to live in that place of divine health. If we want to see the world as kind, then we must come from kindness, first with ourselves and then sharing it outward. So the key is not to change the world, but to change our mind about the world. The real work of mirror work, the real purpose is to stop judging ourselves and others and to acknowledge with full awareness of who it is that we truly are. So again, your homework. Your homework is to sit down in front of the mirror and to repeat 10 times at least, life loves me. Life loves me. Life loves me. Over and over and over. Let us now relax into the silence as we go into meditation. I invite you to take a deep breath. Just allow your body to relax wherever you're seated. Taking another deep breath, and as you do, relaxing your body a little bit further. And I want you to move into a chant. I am lovable. I am lovable. I am lovable. Allow that to just continually run in your mind. I am lovable. And if at any point other thoughts come racing in, just notice and then come back to I am lovable. And let us now just allow that chant to take us a little bit deeper. am lovable. I am lovable. And staying in this meditative state, allow this music to just gently wash over you as you continue to sit in this divine mystery.